I actually purchased 3 of these Xbox One S consoles for £150, which equates roughly to $200. Divide 150 by 3, we're looking at around about £50 per console. The aim today is to try and fix this one and sell it on for profit. For all 3 machines, the listing actually states untested machines, no cables, suspected faulty, selling as spares or repairs. So I have no idea what to expect. Let's get into it. This one actually looks in relatively okay condition. We've even got the little pull tab here. I've not actually seen an Xbox One S that I've purchased off eBay with one of these. Not many scratches on the unit whatsoever. The only thing is that we've got a little bit of dirt on the top, like just here, but even the back looks immaculate. HDMI ports look fine, and also the sticker, the warranty sticker, hasn't been taken off, so nobody has been in this console, I think. But that comes with a word of warning. Consoles that are usually in this great of a condition are the hardest to fix in my experience. Let's see what's going on. Let's plug in the power. Power's in. Do we get anything on the front of the console? Here we go. No. Okay, so this one is no power. Interesting, because it's not been taken apart either. I'm just going to press on the eject button as well and see if that does anything. It doesn't, unfortunately. So I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Let's take it apart. All screws look to be intact. This is a godsend. Would you look at that? We've scored ourselves a 1 terabyte, if I can find the right end. There it is. We've scored ourselves a 1 terabyte hard drive. Nice. And again, I'm relatively scared because look at how good of a condition this is in. It's like the thinnest layer of dust on the actual fan, but the overall condition of this Xbox is a beauty. That makes me very worried. Taking these 4 screws out to release the heatsink so that we can take the motherboard out now. Right, what do we have here? Other than having really dry thermal paste, this board is really immaculate. First things first, which is what we always do, meters in continuity mode, which is the mode that beeps when there is a complete circuit. We're going to put the black probe on ground, and we're going to check the 12 volt line, which is the left side of this connector here. If this beeps, we know that we've got an issue with the power rail. Ah, we don't have a beep. Okay, interesting. This just got 10 times more interesting. Now what we have to start doing is we have to reconnect the power, putting the power plug back in, and then testing around the board for voltages to make sure that we have all the voltage lines around the board. So now we got the power plugged in. Again, we're keeping the black probe on ground. We're going to test for 12 volts to start with to make sure that the power supply is all good. So there's a test pad up here. Do we get 12 volts? We do, we get 11.98, that's fine. I believe the next step down is 5 volts, so there's a test pad over here. What do we get? 5 volts, perfect. Now there should be a 3.3 somewhere, right here. So do we get 3.3 volts? We get 0.8 volts. Okay, so we'll bear that in mind. So the 3.3 volt isn't looking that great. I think we have a 1.8 and a 1.1 to check. There's a 1.8, so that's all good. And then we move on to the last one, which is the 1.1 over here. And we've got 1.1. So the fault, I think, lies on the 3 volt line, or 3.3 to be precise. So I think there's a component that's knackered. I don't know if the south bridge runs on the 3.3 line. I'm not sure. I hope not. I think the next step is to inject 1 volt 1 amp onto the 3.3 volt line, use my FLIR 1 cam and see if anything on the board gets hot. Let's do that. So we're now over on the FLIR cam. Again, I've got 1 volt and a max of 1 amp. I'm going to put it onto the 3 volt line. Do we see anything getting hot? How many amps are we drawing? Okay, so we're drawing 0.036, so 0.036 amps, which I don't think is enough to make anything hot. Let's put the voltage up a little bit by 1. So the voltage is now at 2, so again, we're going to go on the 3.3 line here. Do we get anything? Exactly the same, 0.036. Okay, let's go up to 3 volts. At 3 volts, we've got 0.86. But nothing seems to be getting hot on the board from what I can see. Maybe slightly around the CPU area, we have an influx of heat, 30 degrees, 31 degrees Celsius this is, by the way, but nothing else. South bridge looks stone cold. Yeah, the only little bit of heat I can see is around the CPU, which seems to be fine, but there's nothing else around the board that seems to be getting hot. Interesting. I also tried a different power connector and I have the same voltage of 0.8 on the 3.3 volt line that I had before. So it's not the power supply, which makes sense because we get 12 volts. I'm trying to work this out in my head. Look how clean my gloves are, by the way. Are you all proud of me? I've done a little bit of research online and I think this is the home of the 3.3 rail. Could be wrong, so please don't take this for gospel. And apparently this little chip here could potentially be causing us the issue. I don't know if this is called the enable chip or not. We'll go under the microscope in a second. I believe the chip name is U4C2. I'm going to take this chip off, then I'm going to put voltage back into the board and we're going to measure it again. We're going to go with a really small nozzle just so that we can control the area a little bit more with the heat that we're supplying to the board. And I'm going to go 470 degrees Celsius with an airflow speed of 99% to get this off. Nice. Let's test. We got the power in now. It's all plugged in. Do we still get 0.8 volts with this chip missing? It'll be interesting. Here we go. What do we get? We still get 0.8 volts and that chip's completely gone. Okay, what I suggest we do is replace that with a known good, well, I say known good chip. I've got a faulty board, but I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the chip is okay. So let's get a new one. This is the Xbox One S board that I had last week where it almost went boom on us because of the little Charizard fire hazard we had down here for this MOSFET. And here we have a U4C2 chip. We're gonna take that off now. Exact same speed and temperature. I'm putting the temperature down to 450 degrees Celsius this time and halving the airspeed at 50%. I'm going to warm up the board, then put flux on. It's going to get a little bit loud because I'm going to put my extractor fan on because of the flux. Moment of truth, what happens when we put the power in? Does the board explode? No, that's a good sign. What reading do we get now? Straight to the 3.3 volt test line, which I've lost. There it is, here we go, bosh. Still 0.842. Replacing this chip here means nothing. Okay, at least we know. I was just doing a little bit of experimenting with voltages. I'm gonna show you guys something quickly. Again, this is the area where the 5 volt line is. I get 12 volt on the caps that are next to it, which is fine, no problems whatsoever. And then I started to look at the caps below and we get nothing that side, but this side we get the 0.8, which shows that there's some sort of voltage going towards these caps. I then quickly checked the cap below the chip, which is reading 0.842 volts as well. Then I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll look at the cap above. And it's a short to ground on both sides. I get 154 millivolts on like the same path on a little test pad. So I think this little cap here could be our issue, which is just above the U4C2 chip. Now if I take the power out and go into continuity mode on my meter and I put one probe in ground and I test that cap, both sides is shorted to ground. We shouldn't get a beep on both sides. So what I'm thinking is we remove this little cap and see what happens. This is the one that I'm talking about. I don't know if it does look a little bit worse for wear, but I also don't know if that's flux from when I changed this chip. It probably is. But again, just to show you whilst we're close up, we get a beep, we get a beep. Also, if we put both probes on, that shouldn't be the case. If I do that with another cap, you can hear that we don't actually get a beep. There shouldn't be continuity on this cap. Let's get it removed. 470 at 99% airflow. Right, moment of truth. So this side must be ground, I'm hoping anyway. Yeah, okay, so we don't have a beep this side, look, with this chip. Okay, so maybe that cap was gone. Okay, so we're a step closer. I'm just gonna add my ugly little bean to this. So with that cap removed, do we get 5 volts? So let's check. So that definitely is short to ground. What about these caps? These are the 12 volt ones. What about this one down here? These were showing 0.8 before, so they're not showing anything at the moment. I'm wondering if that's because there's no connection. What about the pad that's next to... Yeah, okay, 4.6 volts. Okay, all right, okay. I know you guys are struggling to see at the moment. However, that's really, really good. That's coming from the chip. Okay, so what about the test pad? That's showing ground because there's nothing connecting the test pad now because we removed that cap. So let me replace the capacitor and maybe this is fixed. And if it is, no words, no words. That is, it's not the greatest job. I mean, it doesn't look great. It's a bit bubbly, but I tried putting on a cap before and it flew off into the nether with the hot air. So I switched over to the soldering iron and that's probably the best I could do. I could probably tidy it up a little bit, but that's fine. Or if I wanted to, I could just put hot air on that just to get it back into place, but I'm okay. I just want to test it and see if it works. Power is in the board, put voltage mode on. Do we get 3.3 volts on the test line? Here we go. Yes, okay, 3.2, all right, 3.2, 3.3, sorry. I don't know if I said 3.3 or 3.2, but come on, let's go. Right, it was that cap, I can't believe it. However, will it turn on is the question. Do we still have the 12 volt? We still have the 12 volt. I can't believe we got 3.3. Let's test it and see if we get power. Now what I will say is I've just plugged the power in. I'm gonna check if it works. If we get a light, don't go anywhere. We're gonna check and see what's on the hard drive. And also, did we get a disc with the console? So stay tuned, here we go. This is one of my most satisfying fixes I've ever done on this channel. Let's quickly put it back together with thermal paste. Okay, Mr. Xbox One S 1TB, do you turn on? Yes! Other than no power, the next most important thing, do we get an image? Let's have a look. Yes, come on. Oh, do we have a disc? No, no disc. Strangely, the Xbox is reset. Just doing a little update, as you can see. We're at 1080p, we're installing a disc, The Division, Tom Clancy, and I would consider this Xbox One S fixed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.